beloved Seiko Alpinist. In the last 10 years, Seiko has really leaned into the popularity of the Alpinist. New designs, new movements, special editions, GMT references, and higher prices. I've been an Alpinist fan since I started collecting watches. The classic SARB 17 was one of my first mechanical watches. Something about the size, the cathedral hands, that useless compass bezel, it all works for me. And it's right here. This SPB 503 is the latest Alpinist watch, and it came out only a few weeks ago. It's really the first redesign in 5 years, and it's the first Alpinist in almost 20 years to have one thing that people have been asking for decades, and which will change your life and make you smart and good looking and finally give you the confidence that you've always lacked. This watch has the word Alpinist on the dial. And credit to Exquisite Timepieces for getting me this watch almost as soon as it was publicly available. Even though I'm only borrowing it from Exquisite, just a couple of weeks of having the word Alpinist on this dial in this italic mid-century font, well, my teeth are whiter, my coat is shinier, and my YouTube videos are weirder. SPB 503, 505, and 507. These are the new Alpinist watches, and you know there are going to be more. Oh yes, there will be more. This dial option, this is my favorite of the new watches. Some people call this turquoise, but Seiko doesn't call this turquoise in any of its marketing material that I found. Instead, what I found on a few Seiko boutique websites is that this color is called teal pine. Yes, teal pine, one word, one confusing made-up word. But that shouldn't take away anything from the actual color, which is very, very nice. This dial color is the closest I've seen to my all-time favorite Seiko Alpinist, the limited edition 7 Summits Action for Sustainable Society SBCJ023 from the early 2000s. A quartz watch, scandalous. And it's not just the dial color that works, but the dial color with the orange accents. That's what I really like about this reference. 39.5 millimeters wide, 12.7 millimeters thick, 46.4 millimeters long with 20 millimeter lugs. It has 200 meters of water resistance and weighs 147 grams on the full bracelet. Inside the watch is a new movement, new to the Alpinist and pretty new to Seiko, the 6R55. $995 is the price for the new Alpinist watches, and 7 inches is the size of my wrist. And you gotta ask yourself, which is nicer? New dial color, a slightly upgraded movement, and yeah, the word Alpinist on the dial. That's what's new about the 3 new Alpinist watches, and the price is, of course, $150 higher. The bracelet seems the same as the previous generation. It's fine, it's perfectly cromulent. There are definitely $1,000 watches with better bracelets, usually from much smaller brands than Seiko. But this bracelet is comfortable, and it has 2 micro-adjustment spots. It's light, it's smooth, and on a 140-gram watch, it's pretty comfortable. The Alpinist is, and hopefully always will be, a quirky watch. There's a lot here that's kinda weird. Not outlandish or audacious, but subtly unusual. And I think that subtle weirdness is interesting to a certain type of person. Shoot, this YouTube channel has over 100,000 subscribers, so there's a market for nearly every quirk. Just look at the cathedral hands, an ornate hour hand that draws influence from Gothic churches on a modern sports watch, kinda strange. The numerals on the Alpinist watches, they're also kind of weird. Even numbers only, and they're rotated along the curve of the dial. It doesn't jump out at you until you start looking at other watches with numerals. A dial with numbers that are rotated and only the even numbers, it's just not something you see much in watch design. Like, I couldn't identify another watch like this, in fact. But I didn't look very hard. Let me know if you know of another watch that has numerals quite like this. And then there's the Cyclops on this watch, the date magnifier. It's, how do I put this nicely? Why? Why is it there? A date magnifier should offer benefits that outweigh its drawbacks, but this doesn't. First, the date window on its own is legible. The date window on this watch is the same size on Alpinist watches that didn't have the Cyclops. And I don't think people were complaining about the legibility of the date. You could read it. And also, the magnifier doesn't really do much magnifying. If I had to guess, which I don't, but if I had to, I'd say that it's about a 1.5 times magnifier. It's really not doing a whole lot except confusing me. And speaking of confusing utility, the inner rotating bezel. It's a compass bezel. The idea with a compass bezel is that if you have the time set correctly on the watch, and you know what hemisphere you're in, north or south, and you know if you're in daylight saving time or not, if you know all those things, you can figure out the cardinal directions. Oh, you also have to be able to see the sun. A very specific list of things have to be going just right for you, and another very specific list of things has to be going just wrong for you to be able to use and need to use a compass bezel. The primary function of a compass bezel on this watch is to have a place for those tiny orange accents, and that's not nothing. These bits of orange are doing a lot of good work here, and I could use a little more orange, like maybe on one of the elements of the dial. The 6R55 movement in this watch is a replacement for the 6R35 movement in the previous generation Alpinist watches. The 6R55 launched in 2024 and has the same accuracy as the 6R35, and according to Seiko, it has the same technology as the 6R35, but the 6R55 has an increased power reserve. The power reserve of the Alpinist has now gone from 70 hours to, drumroll please, 72 hours. More hours is more better, for sure, no argument, but is this mostly a marketing thing so that Seiko can finally say that this watch has a 3-day power reserve? Maybe. It seems kinda odd to me to have a new movement reference that does nothing but increase the power reserve by just under 3%. But nobody buys mechanical Seiko watches for their movements. Nobody should. You shouldn't. Don't do that. I, for one, bought a Seiko Alpinist watch many years ago because of all of those subtle quirks I was talking about. The Alpinist is a kind of reserved watch from a distance that gets curiouser and curiouser the closer you look. That's what first attracted me to the Alpinist watches, and I think this does a pretty good job of carrying on that torch. In fact, I think this specific watch, with its teal pine color and its orange accents, and yeah, the Alpinist branding on the dial, I actually think this might be one of the best looking Alpinist watches in many years. For me.